right? Like you're not going to, like the universe is random enough, right? There are enough sort of different ways of expressing the same idea that you're not going to accidentally write the same line that some other author has necessarily. And so, you know, even if it's a conclusion that you came to on your own and you're like unaware of this other guy who already had this idea, chances are that sort of contextually, like I can tell that.
But you said the idea, the point that they're trying to make, it's their idea. Do they own it?
If they published,
But how would you know that?
at a certain point, it becomes about sort of like ethos and goodwill, right? It's like, I am honestly writing, you know, my ideas, my interpretations, and if it's like a valid interpretation, probably other people have thought of it. So it becomes plagiarism sort of on the intent level, right? That you have gone and you have sort of stolen it and passed it off as your own. Now, I see what you're saying, and I see like where it gets kind of gray area and weird. And I think that you just have to sort of see case by case. The way that I approach plagiarism in this class is that I use safe assign because it's a good deterrent, right? It keeps us all accountable. But I also interpret it as a human and not as a robot. So you're gonna see that every single time you upload an essay to safe assign, there's gonna be a percentage match where it's saying you possibly plagiarized 15%, for example. I'm gonna look at that and not get too worried because I'm gonna actually look at your document and I'm gonna go, oh, well, they used the same quotations as someone else. Of course that's gonna match up, right, word for word. Because safe assign can't read quote marks. It can't read citations, but I can. And I can sort of see where things have lined up. And if you say something similar to a classmate, it's usually not gonna pick it up that way either. And I'm gonna read everyone's essays, right? So I'm gonna be able to tell what are your original ideas and, you know, that kind of thing. Which is not to say that you can't talk to each other and brainstorm together, because each individual essay is going to be sort of like translated through your brain, right? It's going to be unique, it's going to be original if you go in and put the time to do that. Yeah. Okay, other questions? I mean, that's a really good point. Okay, so here's another example. Okay, so say researching this lesson, I looked up some info on the internet. I took some text from the English Owl Purdue site. Okay, so how many of us have heard of the Owl, the Purdue Owl as a website to use it? Okay, what is this website? What is it good for? But you have used it before.
I forgot, yeah.
Okay, so OWL is actually an acronym here. OWL, it stands for Online Writing Lab, and it's put out by Purdue University on their website, and it's a really, really great website. It's a great resource, and I highly recommend using it. And it's good for anything citation-wise. So any MLA citations, any even APA or Chicago, if you're taking like a history class, for example, you go on here and it has great advice for how to format things, how to cite things, how to create a works cited, and it's all up-to-date information and it's easy to navigate. So I would say use that. Anyway, going back to the lesson. So say I looked up the website, I took some info from it. So if I want to include the information that I found on this website, I've got to put quote marks around the section that I'm using, right? And then I also have to give you sort of the pertinent information of where I got this from. So that would be the title of the place that I got it from and sort of who is writing it, right? We don't have like a particular author's name, but we have like a place and sort of a person, right? So we have a university as an entity putting out this information. So here we have a good example of what that could look like. The authors of the OWL, the Online Writing Lab at Purdue website, and then I have my website, write the following about plagiarism, and then I've got my quote mark. A charge of plagiarism can have severe consequences, including expulsion from a university or loss of a job, not to mention a writer's loss of credibility and professional standing. So I've done everything right here. I've